Yeah, that's your new thing. Somebody made a comment on you. You got a fresh haircut, now you're doing a week a week. Who
I'm
cuts your
going
hair?
every 2 weeks. I get a guy that is fresher than fresh that cuts it.
Where
And it's off 29 behind El Corbo. He's good, but we're going. You ready to this? Yeah.
That's good.
Guys, we're going to have a great show today. We're going to spend about 35 minutes with a friend of this program, and Carl Brown. This gentleman is running for Charlottesville City Council. And in this interview, we'll just talk broad strokes, just about the process, just kind of like his pulse and his feel for what's going on, and, just get to know Carl. I think you're going to enjoy this interview. You have an opportunity to offer perspective and share it in the feed. We'll have every media outlet watching here. And on the 6th of April, we got you in the house here, along with some of the other candidates. All we're trying to do is just do long-form content that allows you to get to know folks. It's different than like a 15 or 30-second soundbite that can get manipulated. This offers context. It's a safe place because what you say is not going to get, turned into 2 sentences. Judah Wickhauer is our director, my friend. We can start when you are ready. What do you want, maybe 8 seconds before we get cracking? Okay, thank you. How you feeling, Carl?
Feeling good, man.
You like the new chairs?
I do.
It's
way too relaxed, though.
The VIP chair.
You got me in the.
I like your socks.
Appreciate it, dude. You got to coordinate. Yeah, man.
J-Dubs, give us some instructions, amigo.
Wide on the set.
Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. It's great to be with you on a gorgeous Wednesday, a glorious day to be alive. The next 35 minutes of this program are going to be entertaining. They're going to be knowledgeable, fascinating. It's going to be a trip through Charlottesville with a candidate running for council, a friend of this program, and Carl Brown. Judah Wickhauer is our director. He's a friend. He's a colleague. I consider him family. Sometimes I think he feels the same way about me. Why don't we go to the studio camera, Judah, and let's welcome the very distinguished, the very sharply dressed, the very knowledgeable Carl Brown to the program. How are you, my friend?
Good, Jerry. How you doing?
I'm doing well. The show is yours. Since we had you last on the program here, you mentioned that you were going to do a little shoe leather around Charlottesville and get some signatures.
Yeah, and still in the process. Excellent process in the sense of just being able to go around and talk to different people and get different insights into what people are really feeling has been probably one of the things that have intrigued me the most, that has gotten me wanting to sign the signatures myself, as opposed to having people go out and get them.
So that's important to emphasize. You're doing it.
So I'm doing it myself.
That's legit.
Just because I know different neighborhoods and I know how to pinpoint what I do and don't know. So I wanted to kind of, strategize and go to different neighborhoods and not just go. It would have been easy for me to go in one neighborhood and get all my signatures.
Sure.
But I kind of broke it up. How does that work?
What's the process? I mean, educate the audience. Is it 125?
So it's 125 signatures of registered Charlottesville voters.
Okay.
And so you have to be registered to vote, and you have to be a Charlottesville resident.
Okay.
And so what you're doing now is you're just accumulating your number being 125. And generally you want to get probably 40 to 50 more. My goal is 180, 200, just because I want to be better safe than sorry. But the process is basically you kind of introduce yourself to people and let them know you're running, and basically they're just signing to get you on a petition to be a part of the election coming up. For me, it's been very interesting in terms of just the different people in Charlottesville and the different perspectives, and a lot of just so many different people got to say about their own positions or what they feel about the community. So that's been intriguing, and which makes me want more. I know there's more that I can hear, but I think that'll give me a good understanding as a whole of what's going on and what people really feel in this community. And so I want to, I don't want to out-talk people when I get there. I want to hear what they got to say. And so,
what are the folks saying?
A lot of different things. Anything from water runoff to tax assessments, as you can imagine, to
Because taxes are going
vocational
up.
taxes are going up. Development in certain areas, sidewalks, and so it's a lot of different angles, and which is interesting. It's good for me to hear it. I've really enjoyed talking to the home associations, presidents, different members of that, because they got a different perspective, and I think we could utilize them going forward a little more than we do.
Was it the Fry Springs Association?
And so I did the
Yeah.
Fry Springs. I did a not a debate. We just kind of spoke to
Like a forum.
It's a forum.
Yeah.
I spoke to a forum with the Fry Springs Home Association, which was very interesting and was good. They were really nice, cool. But you know, in my travels, I was also able to talk to some other home association presidents in various neighborhoods about just some of their concerns or what they felt about the whole process. And it's more than just one thing. It's a process, much like what I'm doing is a process. And so it was good to talk about that because it's something that we haven't heard. But yeah, so this has been very interesting, different for me because I'm usually on the backside,
Right.
I'm behind the scenes, and this has kind of put me in the forefront. But the beautiful thing about that is the people around me have been very supportive, and so the roles are kind of changing. Got a lot of people that want to help and support and do that, so we've been kind of organizing what that's going to look like, probably non-traditionally, much more non-traditional than your regular person that's running this position. But I think just like I'm talking about Charlottesville, I think we need to get our people involved because we got a lot of people in Charlottesville who can do a lot of different things, but you got to know that. So you can walk right past a person and don't even know the very essence of the need you need. You might have just walked past it, but you got to be open enough to kind of reach for that. And
So comments coming in already. So here's the cool part of the show is you can offer your perspective, your comments, your props, your questions to Carl Brown in the comment section. I'll relay them on air. You're already getting them. People know you. Popular guy. David Bridges giving you some love. David Bridges loves when you come on this program. You got Herb Dickerson. Is it Dawson Orr?
Dawson Orr.
Watching the program. Scott Bandy says there's so many topics and so little time to address them. I look forward to seeing what's answered here and how. I look forward to hearing about Carl Brown. Best regards to you and your endeavors, Mr. Brown. That's from Scott Bandy. You got NBC 29 watching. You got the Seaville Weekly watching. Vanessa Parkhill, hello and welcome to the broadcast. How about this question for you? What I find so unique about Charlottesville is you could be in one pocket, one neighborhood, and then you walk half a mile or 1 mile, you're in a completely different one, and it's almost like a different world in Charlottesville. How about that to you? It's like, it's so eclectic.
Yeah. Well, you know, Charlottesville has always been unique in that retrospect. But I think sometimes it gets the general city. Well, it's a city like any other city, and you deal with the issues. And so a lot of what's going on in Charlottesville is going on all over the country. So when we talk about a lot of the issues, we don't want to pinpoint one. Let's just talk about everybody in the country is dealing with the same thing to a certain extent. I mean, if you go to most communities, you won't find many communities say, we got it all together. I mean, that's rare.
Sure.
And if it wasn't, we would know about those cities. But I think it's important to look at the uniqueness of Charlottesville and understand exactly what you're dealing with here. And I think sometimes it gets skewed in terms of how people view it. And just from my standpoint, just understanding something, the uniqueness of Charlottesville is that Charlottesville is a traditional service town. And so what do I mean by that? Its best assets and its best resources are its people. You know, we don't have manufacturing plants and those things where people can go in and manufacture something and come back out. Our biggest employer is UVA Hospital. But even saying that, we don't have a lot of doctors who come from this community who are performing surgeries. Most of the individuals who are from Charlottesville who work in UVA are on not the doctor level, but on different levels. Most of what they do is their hospitality and how they treat people. Their service, those individual services that they perform at the hospital is what makes the hospital what it is. Much like our community, our restaurants, our different businesses and venues, because we don't have a lot of franchises that come into Charlottesville and say we're going to set up shop here, and you say, oh, well, that's a franchise. So if you look at our businesses, there are a lot of individual businesses that are like one-shop There's only one of them. And so the thing about those businesses and just the other entities of Charlottesville as a whole, the uniqueness of it are its people. When you go to a restaurant, you're looking at the restaurant, but you got to look at the cooks, you got to look at the waiters, you got to look at the bartenders, you got to look at how that works and how they make that run. You understand what I'm saying? Some time ago, that was our best asset. The fact that people could come here and we got great cooks and we got great waitresses and just the atmosphere was good. And so that's just one part of it. That go in terms of our services and resources, we have the same thing. If you look up now and look at all the proactive individuals in the community who are trying to combat gun violence, who are trying to be a resource to individuals who are going through things on a whole nother level, that shows you that people have ideas and want to help and want to get involved. Herb Dickerson, Eddie Harris, I could go on and on. There are a lot of people who are doing a lot of things in this town that go unnoticed, but they keep going about their business and they don't get in the forefront and get recognized for the work they do. It's funny, and I won't go into names because I don't like doing a name game, but one of my nephews, and I got a lot of nephews, mentioned to me after something extraordinary happened, said, it's funny, and this could be said for Charlottesville too. It's funny how people only support people when it's popular to support people.
Ooh, unpack that for me. Unpack that.
Basically, there are a lot of people in Charlottesville doing a lot of good things. But if it's not popular and somebody else didn't say it, they go unnoticed. Now, if you know how to navigate that and get to the media and do all of that, then you can get on board. But that shouldn't knock down or minimize the efforts of people who have been doing good work in this community for years, but just haven't been recognized. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so that was, when he said that, I was like, you make a good point. I've been doing what I've been doing in this community since I got back to this community from starting with the youth, getting athletics together, helping out. I'm not saying I need to be the coach, I need to be anything. Just saying, when I went to DeBer, when I got back when I got back here and was trying to find my way, I gravitated to DeBer and said, what can I do to make our
Garwin
program?
DeBerry.
Garwin DeBerry. What can I do to make us better? Not, I want to be a coach, and what can I do to make what you're doing better? You understand what I'm saying? Now, most guys go into coaching, and they want a distinguished role. I want to be the whatever. Basically, he told me, okay, I get it, and you're going to be good for this, but guess what? You got to start from the bottom. And so you're going to learn how to scout. So you're not going to be at games.
Garwin DeBerry was the Hall of Fame coach for Charlottesville High School.
Still is.
Still, the field's named after him.
Yeah, field's named after
Right?
him. Yeah. And so, in that, just learning that, once I got that probably was my greatest asset when I learned how to do it. Now, we had a lot of success, but nobody was saying, oh, you need to get this guy or nothing. Nobody was saying that. From basketball to football, whatever. And again, you see the success, but you don't know how much time and put in it. And that's the same thing about this community. People are digging in every single day to make sure the other people are okay, to the best of their ability. Now, at the highest level, you might not see that. But on a low level, it's happening. And so we need to utilize those type things and give them their props and let them be a part of this whole transition. Because what we're getting ready to go through is a transition.
How so?
Well, everything's going to change. And I'm not saying by me, it's going to change regardless. And I said this about chemistry. And so, again, being a team sports guy, one of the things that I know people say, well, you always refer to basketball for me is the closest thing to life, the closest sports to life that you'll ever see. You don't have many sports that are like basketball.
Okay.
Because on the one hand, you could be up, happy, joyous, all of that. Within a 2-minute period, you could be down.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
The emotion of
you see them,
everybody.
and it's
an
like
intimate sport.
It's an intimate sport. You got to build relationships.
Yeah.
There are going to be some issues. You got to be able to deal. It's so many little intricacies that go into basketball and life, and so it's easy for me to make analogies because I understand that, and you could just compare it. We could talk about anything, and I could compare it to basketball every day of the week. In this term, I'm going to use what we're talking about now, and so people talk about, well, what's going to be different if when or if you are on our city council. And I said, I mean, it is a two-sided question because, number one, you're talking about me. And so I don't have the ability to just say, I'm going to be on city council. That's going to take people vote. You understand? And so throughout my campaign, you know, my objective is to show you who I am and what I do. That's me. At the end of the day, it's your vote.
Sure.
But when you talk about chemistry, let's take me out the equation. So we have 5 individuals. Let's put it in basketball analogy. Let's use basketball analogy because tomorrow NCAA that we done missed for a year. So let's start getting people in that mindset.
Dance.
Big dance. So let's
Yeah.
get people in the dance and kind of use that in terms of where we're going with Charlottesville. Okay?
Sure. I like this.
Many games, every game you start off with 5 players, correct?
Yeah.
Now, every game, those 5 players are not going to come out and kill the game. You have some games, they come out hot and you feel good about the 5 you put out there and the chemistry that's going on. But there are some games that you go into that the chemistry's not right.
Yep.
What does a coach do? He makes a sub.
Sure.
He may bring in 1 person. He may bring in 2 people. Automatically, just because you take 2 pieces out, regardless, you're not saying, I hate this person out. Right now, it's about chemistry. We want to get into a position where we can be successful in what we're doing and win the game. So for right now, we got mismatch problems. Well, let's dispel these mismatch problems. I'm gonna sub him and I'm gonna sub him.
So you got 2 substitutes in the starting 5.
2 subs.
Coming up.
So you take 2 of them out.
Yeah.
You put 2 more in, and things start to flow.
So then maybe you go from the Detroit Pistons from right now to the Los Angeles Lakers if you put 2
Right.
subs in.
Or-
Pistons are struggling, Lakers are
Let's
showtime.
do it even better. Let's go Nets.
Okay.
New Jersey Nets are the best example of
Harden, Durant, and Irving.
Yeah, so you have those.
Okay.
You understand? You got to
Yeah.
make some pieces, but you have those pieces.
Okay,
And
I'm
one
with
or two,
you here. I
One
like
or two people changed the whole game. It wasn't that long ago. They were not even on the map. They were competitive, but they're not on the map. 1 or 2 pieces. And you don't even need all 3 right now.
So is Carl Brown the James Harden or the Kevin Durant?
That's not for me to say. I mean, and now you're talking apples and oranges because I can't. That's a productivity thing. You know what I'm saying? So my whole point is just how chemistry changes, and it doesn't have to be about 1 person or 2 people. It's just the laws of physics. You have something in play. You change anything. It's like batteries. How about this?
Okay.
How about this? Well, let's use batteries. Now, most people we don't have to use batteries because we got, you can plug up stuff in it. But back in the days, you used to have to buy batteries. And so you could get 4 batteries, 5 batteries. Let's say 5 batteries. You use those batteries for a period of time. Then you go to click the whatever it is on, and it kind of slows down.
Sure.
What do?
Get a new battery.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing.
So you're saying the starting 5, I like this analogy. The starting 5 in this analogy is the 5 people on council.
Right.
And the starting 5 right now, they have some chemistry issues.
Right.
So it's up to us, the coach, the voters.
You're the coach.
The voters are the coach. And the voters can decide whether or not we're going to sub out and who's going to sub in.
Right. And that's basically what it is. And so if you use that analogy,
it.
You don't have to be mean or about that for the sake of us winning this game.
Yeah. No, that's just logical thinking.
Logical
You're not
thinking.
being mean at all.
No. For the sake of us winning the game, we already know the outcry says that this group that we have on the floor
has chemistry issues.
Has chemistry issues.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like we're not running our whole offense. And somewhere along the line, it gets to a point. Wherever it is, it gets to a point either 1 person is not ready to shoot, or 1 person is shooting too much, or 1 person is not rebounding, whatever you want to call it. Guess what? We got to make a sub. That's all we're doing. We're not saying, when coaches make sub, they don't say, get out the game, go to the locker room. They say, get out the game, sit down for a minute, let me see if I can work this because we got to get on track.
I like that.
For the benefit of the whole team. You understand?
Sure.
So I'm starting you, and if you watch sports, you may be a starter for 5 or 6 games. But guess what? Coach may say, I want to try something different, and I want to use him right now.
Do you think our primary, Dave Norris, we will get to your comments. Welcome to the broadcast, Dave Norris. Mary Brown
Hey, Mary.
says hello.
That's my mom. Now she gonna kill me. She gonna kill me for saying that. Oh, but hey, mom.
I love Mary Brown on the show. Javon Monroe, giving you some props here.
Much love to everybody watching.
Is the first issue we have to address the team chemistry on council?
From my standpoint or from the general standpoint?
From your standpoint.
Listen, at the end of the day, this is about business. Listen, so there's a couple things going on. We got some personal stuff, which, you know, one of the things when I work with particularly my pro athletes, one of the things I keep them leery of are distractions. You know what I'm saying? Distractions. Because distractions are created and the individual has no control. So your response to the distraction is going to determine where you're going to go. Now, if you don't get distracted, you stay on your straight and narrow. You get distracted for a minute and say, oh, this person's saying this about me or whatever. Now it's a me thing. When you go in the game, you already got some different feelings about whatever it is, because either you're feeling like I need to do more or I need to do less because this person said this. And at the end of the day, you can only control you. You do what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so we have to, as a community, have to be conscious of distractions. And we've been distracted. We've been distracted many times. And our response to the distraction has taken away from all the other stuff we got to do. You know what I'm saying? And so, but again, distractions are created and you have no control. And there's a purpose to them. You don't know what the motive is because you don't even know who started the distraction. It could come off as a simple question to get somebody saying one thing. It could, team, let's go back team again. Just keep it hypothetical.
Sure.
Got a nice team. Your shooting guard is doing what your shooting guard is supposed to do. But you have another shooting guard or a guy that wants to, you know, excel as well, could have some good skills. And then he getting this feeling because somebody said to him, you know, that should be you. Or you should be running the team. Or he getting 20. Or they feeding him.
Or that person should be the mayor.
Or that person should be this. Or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Now, you got to look at it from two standpoints. Am I going to allow that to distract me and affect this whole team? Or I'm going to respond to it and say, hold up, I need my props. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's all about your team. Now, if you're not going to be a team player, go play tennis, go swimming, do one of those, go play golf. But at some point, you're going to have somebody in your corner. There's never any, we like to think that sometimes we as individuals got it all figured out. And so in doing this, I'm realizing my best resource is the people I know. So I may not know everything, but I guarantee you I know somebody who knows whatever I need to find out. And so that requires you to be a good listener, pay attention to detail to what people are saying, because people will tell you exactly where they are. Like, people don't have a problem doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so you got to be very conscientious of self and everybody else. You know, I think too often, just as a whole, and too often we make it about me, and it's not about me. You know what I'm saying? If it was about me, let me say this. If it were about me and the people that know me, we wouldn't even have this conversation. You would be saying, I see Carl Brown, I remember Carl Brown. But I mean, the opportunities that I've had in my life and had to make difficult decisions because it required so much travel and change and all of that. You got to look at it, is this about me or is it about the whole? And so and for me, you got to take your family into consideration. You got to take the work that you've already kind of created in consideration to go in this thing. So I've had numerous opportunities to go coach on a lot of levels from different coaches. And I'm not talking about like your regular coaches. I'm talking about top flight, Florida, Tennessee, Texas, just to name a few. You know what I'm saying? Just off of what I do, and they see the value of it. And like encourage, like you should do this. Like, and that's very flattering to go to these different places where most people look at it as like a dream, to be in those places and to be welcomed in a way where they know what you do and they appreciate what you do and you can be a part of that team. Again, that would have been a me thing, because that would have been me. I would have been in that, and it's a whole different role. When you look at the whole, you decide, you know what, I appreciate it, but this is not the time. And so all those endeavors and those opportunities, it just wasn't the right time. You know what I'm saying? And so we go from there. But we got to get a more we approach than me approach. Because if I focus on me, I'm not going to be in Charlottesville. Because what I do really is catered for a whole nother city. We don't have a lot of what I do in Charlottesville. Now, the thing about it is I can create in Charlottesville because I know the dynamics of it. So I can take what I do somewhere else and kind of flip it and say, okay, it's not going to be about this population. I'm going to focus on this whole population and start from scratch and use what I've used with them. And so that's what I've been able to do here, which is like what I feel really good about.
Let me throw this to you. Dave Norris has got a good comment. I know the background. I'd like to hear more of your background. How about the bio, your background in this community, and how your background, your bio, your roots, you grew up here.
Yeah.
How that could be potentially advantageous for someone getting on council, if elected.
Right. And so website will be up soon, so
Okay.
you'll get all of that. But I can give you all right, and let's start from the beginning. All right, and so I was born in Charlottesville. Like, my family was rooted here. And at a point where people really didn't even know what Charlottesville was. If you're talking about the 40s, it was new. My granddad came here from Scottsville in the 40s and made his way. We were a church family. My grandfather was a pastor, so everybody in my family participated in church. We grew up in church. That was his thing. And so we were all a part of, we didn't even have to have one person outside of my family to come to our church, and we could have a full house church going on. You know what I'm saying? I remember, and many people I can remember people, because we were on a corner of Ross Avenue, and we would do, it was Kojic. I don't know how many people are aware of Kojic, Church of God in Christ. And so that's like an organization that's nationally known. It has been nationally known from the early days. So during that time, you kind of find your way, and it's a little different. I spent a lot. Sundays, I was in church started off Sunday school, did all church, took a break, ate with the family, went back. Probably wouldn't get out of church until about 11. And that was regularly until I was about 10. Where it was routine. My friends knew it. You got to go to church and all of that. It was good discipline. In doing so, God gave me a gift. And so my uncle, and again, my whole family was the choir, the preachers, everything. And so my uncle, who was a phenomenal musician, just a genius in his own right. And I have a lot of individuals in my family like that. My uncle kind of groomed me to be his accompanist, drummer. And so a lot of time when my brother and them were playing, I was working on my skill as learning how to play the drums. And I'm talking 4 or 5 years old. Already just saying, I want to do this. The opportunity is there. It's going to put me on a big stage. And so I would have to do that. And he would discipline and drill me, and that's what it was. And so the opportunity came where I was able to do that. I was probably 7. So my uncle is Nehemiah Brown. He is the founder of the Black Voices at the University of Virginia. And so he founded that. So he went to UVA, put together this choir at UVA, and the rest is history. And so I was the accompanying drummer for that group. So I was doing that at 7. I did that up until I was like 10. And so I was doing a lot of traveling. He was doing like little mini tours up and down the East Coast, South Carolina, did some Midwest. So by the time I was like 10, I'd already been to Chicago, New York, Cleveland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Maryland, D.C. I did a lot of traveling at that point in time, but I was missing my childhood. I kind of got to the point where I was missing my childhood because I'm leaving. I get out of school on Friday. My mom has my bag packed. And I got to go, and I'm watching my brother and my best friend and all my friends and going to play street football. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, that's not fair. I did that up until I was 10. And then when I was 10, I just kind of said, enough is enough. He kind of moved away and went to California and to pursue his career. At that point, he was gone, so I didn't have the discipline. So I got into sports, played with the Eagles. And back then, city football was the thing. And it kind of catered by neighborhoods or areas.
What was your neighborhood?
My neighborhood I grew up on 12th Street, so I guess that'll fall in the 10th and Page, but I don't know.
Not Preston Heights.
Well, it's all Preston Heights. Okay. So I grew up in Preston Heights,
Okay.
but if you break neighborhoods, 12th Street, 10th and Page is one area.
Okay.
And so then once you go 10th, everything starts going 10 and a half, 11. So my community merges into UVA. So once you get to 14th Street, you're going up, but it was a little different.
Okay.
And so all of it was Preston Heights.
Okay.
But in terms of the breakdown, I grew up on the Grady Avenue. I grew up in that area. Okay. And so, that community was really, really close-knit, and I still know many of them. Many of them have gone on. But I got into sports, and I loved it. Met a lot of friends, was able to excel in it. So most people know me as Killer. People don't even realize that, like my uncle who passed away, rest in peace, Uncle Charles, probably my greatest supporter at that point in time. just because he didn't care what I was doing. He just came home and was glad to see I was doing it. And so I came home with my little brown on my helmet, first time football. And he looked at me, he laughed. He had this funny, unique laugh. And he laughed and he said, "We got to put something else on that. We got to put something else on that." And I didn't know what he was talking about. So he went in his house. He used to have a basement with a bar and sit up there and I'd get little Shirley Temples. Like I was at a bar. He turned me on to jazz, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like 10 years old listening to like.
Drinking Shirley Temple.
Yeah, drinking Shirley Temple.
Listening to jazz.
Listen to like Tyner McCoy and, and loving it. And so when I go home, that's what I do. I go listen to jazz.
Still the Shirley Temple?
Nah, no Shirley Temple.
Okay.
I had graduated from Shirley. My grandbaby gets Shirley Temples. And so he put Killer on it. He put Killer on it. And so I went to practice, second day of practice, and a good friend of mine, Beetle Jones, my guy, he was already like the guy. And I came to practice, and I had my thigh pads and my knee pads and my knee pads and my thigh pads. But I was ready to go. And so he being my guy, he was like, "Come on, man, fix your pads and stuff." But from that day on, we became a force. And so I didn't even lose a Little League game. My first losing became when I got to CHS. I didn't know what losing was. I mean, we just won. We dominated. And so when I got to CHS, it was like, what is this losing thing? But I had to learn it was a whole different ball game. And then that kind of transcended into Garwin DeBerry. And so I had that relationship, and I was all sports at that point. Music was on the back burner. I was able to be a part of a lot of significant times in CHS. We would play in the Western District. But by the time I was a junior, we were winning. You know what I'm saying? So people were like, oh, Charlottesville's coming now. And so in the Western District, all the schools knew one thing about Charlottesville. They might not beat you, but your concern is somebody's going to leave this game hurt because they're coming. And so that was our reputation in that district, which was kind of, I saw Herman Moore some years ago.
Wide receiver, UVA, played for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, me and him went head-to-head. He got one catch, but it was a game winner, so he won.
You were the defensive back, and Herman Moore was the wide receiver?
Yeah.
Because Herman's what, 6'5", 6'6"?
Herman was about 6'3", 6'4".
Okay.
And so
he got an extra couple inches by the time he got to the league.
Yeah, but at this point, he was young.
Okay.
He was fast.
Lanky?
He was still big. Yeah, he was a little lanky, but he was
a physical receiver.
Listen, he wasn't as physical then because I was a little older than him, so I was the physical one in terms of that. He was running good routes and just catching the ball. So he learned some lessons in terms of how I was going to approach him. You scare him.
You jammed him at the line.
Well, no, I let him catch the ball and think he there and then flip him, catch him. Don't go high and try to compete for the ball. Just make him think about, I may do a flip or, just different things off of that. And so the Hail Mary became, Herman Moore's first Hail Mary probably was against me for the game winner. Well, he landed on the 1-yard line. I caught the ball, fell into him, and he just snatched it out of my hand on a one, and they went in. We lost to them 13-10. The funny thing about it is we were going for back-to-backs against Danville that year. So we had beat them the year before for the first time in ever. Charlottesville has one win against Danville, and that's the win. And so
let's do this. Let's take it to Charlottesville.
Let's take it to Charlottesville.
Yeah, let's take this. What have you, since you launched your candidacy, how has the platform or your campaign evolved? Like what you listen to learn, when you're listening to learn from the folks around Charlottesville as you're getting signatures, how has your platform changed now that you've heard from voters and what's important to them? Has it changed at all?
Well, in terms of my platform, basically, I'm homegrown. So, I have different insight and experiences and things like that. So a lot of people ask different kind of questions, and I'm a little more knowledgeable about it because a lot of people don't know. And so it kind of opens up some things in terms of how I can share some different things with them, just because I know. In terms of my leadership, part of being a good leader is you got to listen. And so you want to engage everybody. As a leader, you can't leave anybody out. And you have to, wear a lot of different hats and adjust because you can't go and be that. I have to put myself in a position where I can put myself in that person's position at that point in time. I can't say, I'm Carl Brown, and let me put myself in this person's position. Like this person comes from this perspective. I've understood that perspective before. I get where you're coming from. Let me put myself in this perspective. And so I'm kind of removing myself, who I am, and kind of saying, I'm talking to this person. Let me put myself in their position and listen to what they have to say. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to trying to combat it and say, oh, well, no, I'm not doing any of that. I'm letting people say what they want to say and kind of fill in, if they have questions, a lot of what I get, or a couple, not a lot, people want commitments. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, you can't commit. I will never commit to something I haven't seen, I don't know. And I think sometimes, when you look at politics as abroad and people do that, I mean, you playing with fire because people going to hold it at.
How have, what's the response been as you've been gathering signatures to the current temperature, the mood here in Charlottesville?
There's so many different moods. You understand? Sure. Now, I know from perception there may be one mood, but everybody's not focusing on, you do get, what I will say is this, from the elder section of this community, those people who have been here, and they just want calm, respectable, they don't want that, they don't want to see that. They don't want the back and forth. They just want respectability. They just want to see they want to be observed and see people do it a different kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to remember, when you're in these kind of positions, you represent the whole city. You know what I'm saying? And so one thing I took in consideration, like, I travel. At this point, I'm traveling to represent Charlottesville. You know what I'm saying? I can't leave Charlottesville, go to another city and act a fool. First thing gonna happen is somebody will get that on social media and say, look at your Charlottesville mayor. Now, that has nothing to do with nobody in Charlottesville, but guess what? Your Charlottesville mayor, it has everything to do with Charlottesville. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So I'm very conscientious of the role that I am in, but I'm also very conscientious of there is not one particular thing that's making or break Charlottesville. The one thing that we don't have is the chemistry and continuity to get business done. You know what I'm saying?
Starting five, which is council.
Right. Our starting five right now just need to be adjusted. We need to make some subs. And as the coach's point, people, you're the coaches, you got to decide if you're going to go with this and see if it's going to play itself out. You're going to be Phil Jackson and say you're going to work your way through it, or you're going to be more like Coach K and say enough is enough. Give me him. I got enough. Give me him. You go in and we're going to move forward. I'll get it done. You had your chance.
Throw this to you. Unfortunately, one of the unfortunate aspects of this pandemic is some folks have been able to work, some folks have not been able to work. Depending on the field or the type of employment the people do, some can do it like this, like we're doing, we're fortunate, and some rely on like literally going to a store or a restaurant to work, and those folks are suffering. From my standpoint, it seems like the wealth gap in this area is getting wider, where like the rich are getting richer and the poor, unfortunately, are getting poorer.
Well, and see, again, that's not just Charlottesville. That's
everywhere.
Yeah, that's everywhere. And so...
But from a Charlottesville standpoint...
From a Charlottesville standpoint, the pandemic is the pandemic. And I look at it from two different ways. And so... I look at it from a standpoint we all need to pause for whatever reason. We need to pause for a minute to be able to really consciously look at the scope of everything. And so on the one hand, it's been eye-opening because we do get a clear scope and we're not moving. I think if we didn't have the pandemic, a lot of the current conversations that we're having, we wouldn't be having because there's so many other things and everybody will be moving. And so people get into their own space and say, well, I'm good, you got to get good. You know what I'm saying? I think the pandemic has given all of us a real eye-opener to anything can happen to anybody. You know what I'm saying? And so though we talk about rich and poor in that sense, those are tangible things. We talk about money. And so most of what we do, and that is true, most of what we talk about, what I'm talking about right now is the position I'm going in is dealing with numbers. You know what I'm saying? We deal with at the bottom, at the end of the day, what I'm going into is looking at numbers. I want to be clear on what our numbers are. Everything. We talk about rich or poor. How many people we got rich? How many people do we have poor? How many affordable houses do we have? And so we can say, affordable housing, how many do we have? You know what I'm saying? So we got to get to the point that we understand this is about numbers. And we
another
can't.
thing that's interesting about affordable housing is just so different for so many people.
Right.
For some folks, affordable housing is tied to 50% area median income. For some, it's 80%
Right.
area median income. And that 30% delta is a substantial amount with folks' take-home pay.
Right.
So maybe the first step is actually defining what affordable housing should be for Charlottesville.
And that was my first thing I was going to say, Jerry. That was, that was the first thing when I was asked that question when I did the last
what actually
the
is
last
the
format.
definition?
Right, and that was a question I was like, what is the definition of affordable?
Because it's so different to everybody.
It's different for everybody. It's not it's not one thing that goes across the board. Affordable is exactly what it says. When a person and this is what people need to understand, and most people do, but affordable is what each individual can afford to purchase when they put themselves in a position to purchase a home, if that's what you're trying to do. Now, anybody who's ever purchased a home has to understand the process. It's not an easy process.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And so it's a brutal process.
it's a brutal
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you get to your bottom line, you will understand very quickly what you can and cannot afford.
Definitely.
And it's not like, well, me and Jerry in the same boat. Jerry's situation is going to be different than my situation. They're going to be different. So everybody's situation is different. But this is what gets me. We talk about affordable housing, and then we go into this whole thing, and then we throw low-income housing in there. And how do those two things coincide? Because affordable housing and low-income housing are not the same. So they shouldn't even be in the same conversation. You know what I'm saying? We have to define what affordable housing is. Number one, I need to know exactly what that is because it's different for everybody. Now, there may be some subgroups who can balance it out that fit a criteria like you're in this sect because you're in this. But in terms of it just being this overall, we're providing affordable housing for who? Like, what population are you talking about? And what most people understand is when you go through that process of buying a house, what you'll probably realize is you can't afford to live in Charlottesville unless you're going to do something like get a home that needs some work or it's an older home or something like that. And we as a city need to take that in consideration because I think if we do that, we can get more people moved and want to buy into Charlottesville.
Sure.
But what's happening is we're doing these assessments
Yeah,
across
real estate taxes are going up. Both Nakia Walker, Cedar McGill, and Michael Payne have clearly stated next year real estate taxes are going to go up. The concern I have here, I'm going to throw it to you open-ended, general question. From my standpoint, I'm very much a libertarian, and I very much talk about my ideology on this program. I'm a guy that's less government for me. I'm a guy that taxes are regressive, not progressive. My concern is if we raise taxes in Charlottesville because the budget is in such bad shape that it could potentially further create more gentrification in our community because the overhead to maintain that household, as we all know, is increased.
Right.
And if the gentrification happens, this community continues to change and change and change and look very different. I haven't been here as long as you. I came here in 2000, August of 2000.
I remember when you got here.
The 29th of August. I was a first year at UVA. And the town then, 21 years ago till now, is so different. I got to imagine with you, I mean, what are you?
I've watched
39 years young? What are you, 39 years young?
I'm 53, bro.
Okay, you're aging extremely well. Okay, he's 53 years old. I would imagine you would think the town's changed dramatically.
Yeah, major league, and have watched it. But there are some other dynamics to it as well. Again, you get people in positions, and so most of the homes that are coming up, a lot of those people are older and their kids are gone, and it gets to a situation where they're older and they either pass on or they have to go into a different situation where they're going into facilities that can care for them. Their kids are not here, and what happens is the kids are living in another community and doing what they're doing exactly what people in Charlottesville who come to Charlottesville. People that left Charlottesville are doing the exact same thing in other places. That's all that's happening. Yeah. And so where we're saying, we got this, our people are doing the same thing in other communities. You got to know that. Now, the thing I know is when it comes down to property, houses, and things of that's an individual thing. I don't think people get in a situation where they don't really, the house has been here for that long. I really don't want to put that much into it. I don't want to be responsible for it. What's our shot? We're going to sell. Now, I think if there was a more community-based investment group who was catered to preserving some of those things, I think that process would be a little less of transition in terms of just selling off property, because you would have a group that could say, we're going to preserve this and create a model where individuals can afford to buy and flip it out. I mean, but one of the things I'm saying, we need to be open to the resources we have in this community and not be so I know it all. Because there's a lot of people in this town. If you, just in talking, there are a lot of different ways that we can turn this around. But I think it's going to take all of us. But we need to involve more people. We can't. I don't want to get on this. My point is not to get on this and be like, I am the dude. No. One of the things I'm going to be able to do is talk to all the individuals that I know in the various aspects of real estate, training development, vocational training. My objective is to have people ready when we're ready to go, as opposed to get ready. You know what I'm saying? So if people listening to me, everybody has a part in this. Do your part and be ready. Don't get ready and I say, okay, we can ready to do this. Oh, well, I got it. No, start getting ready now, because it's going down. One way or another, it's going down. And things going to have to change. We already know they're going to have to change. But I think the people need to have a larger voice in a constructive way where we can kind of say, this is not a one-shot deal. Let's get together and let's talk about what your feelings are.
You have two Board of Supervisors watching. And if you'd like to come on the program, we certainly would like to have you. You have two city councilors watching you now. So you got two members of leadership in the county and two on council in the city watching here. I got questions coming in for you.
Shoot.
Good questions. Scott Bandy first. We'll go to his. And Scott Bandy's got this question for you. Mr. Brown, and your venture going out through Charlottesville at large, how much across the populous spectrum in this city do you see of our middle-class citizens remaining in the residence here? Basically, he's saying, is the middle class being pushed out as well, the community as well?
I wouldn't say, well, if we're talking about middle class and buying homes, this is what you need to understand. Again, each individual makes their own decision. And what people are realizing, if they can afford to buy a house or in the city, unless it was already gifted and they bought it previously, most people understand that it's cheaper to go live somewhere else. It's cheaper to live in Albemarle County. You can get a house out in county. It's cheaper to go to Fluvanna. It's cheaper to go to Louisa. And so people are understanding once they go through the entire process of what they can afford.
Central Virginia looks very appealing as opposed to the city of
Charlottesville. Well, city of Charlottesville is not the most appealing place here.
Because of the price tag.
Because of the price tag and what you get for your buck.
Do we not risk then the city just becoming a playground for the rich?
Nah, well, we could. We could risk anything. You understand, if you keep playing that game. But I think it's some different. I think we need to be more inclusive in terms of our different home associations in their neighborhood, because I think there's a disconnect on a lot of levels, and just in some basic stuff like housing. We need to include, when we're talking about our overall housing in our city and the crunch we have and the issues we have, one of the things I've known for a minute is before you can even have that conversation, you need to include those individuals who are going to benefit you in it. Who are those individuals? The private home owners. So these individuals who rent duplexes and have rental property, if you're talking about how we're going to solve this, you need to have them on board. You can't like say, we got this issue, we got this issue, we got this issue, and then the people who could benefit you, who have the properties or who would be willing to hear anything, they're not involved. So you almost throw this innuendo out there, housing is bad and we need to do this, but the very essence of the people who can help you, who own the houses and who rent, let's think about it. UVA is going to be totally different because they're going in a different scope. What used to happen is because of, the volume of students who would rent homes, the realtors didn't even need to hear from the city. I don't need you because we got them. Well, that's kind of changed now. You know what I'm saying? Because the dynamics of COVID have changed. Now we need to bring them in and say, we see you feeling the crunch, we feeling the crunch. How can we come to an agreement where you're a part of this and we can help you and you can help us? And now you're going to open that up. But we got to utilize the resources that we have in town and be more open to those little entities. Real estate, the Real Estate Association has every property in this city that is available. Who owns it, how they own, whatever it is, they have that. You need to be in partnership with them to find out, okay, which one of these are willing to rent to low income? How do we want to look at that? What is the program? What is a process of which we can agree to that individuals coming in our home understand these are the expectations of you renting here and I don't have a problem? I think it's too cold callish in terms of a person gets a voucher and then it's their responsibility to go out and find their own home. Well, if I just came and got a voucher from you because I'm looking for housing, what makes you think that I can go out and do that on my own? Like introduce myself. And so I know realtors who their biggest issue is I don't like cold calls because I don't really get a chance to know a person. We need to create a model where it's a little more personal, where those realtors can sit down with individuals and have a conversation about what are your goals? What are you doing? How can I help you? You know what I'm saying? That in itself may open up a door where a person say, you know what, I had this person renting my house for 5 years. Great tenant. I'm looking to sell. I'm going to sell it to her. Relationship building. A lot of what we're going to be doing is a relationship building.
Sure, and you're very good at relationship building. Margaret Matthews giving you some props right now. You got the Seville Weekly listening to your every word. Malik Ward, Tony Barber, Carter Brown, Shamora Cooper. They all say hello. If you guys have any questions for the candidate, put them in the feed, please. How about this one? This is a good one.
Hold on, before you say that,
sure.
Let me give a shout out to the media. I will be in contact with you, but this is a process. So
Yeah.
I don't want to jump off and start doing this. So I will be in touch with you this week coming up for sure.
Are they reaching out?
Well, no, they haven't. They have been totally respectful, but I want to put that out there since they're on here.
Okay.
I know I haven't done it yet.
Got it.
That I got you in mind.
Okay, okay. So here's a question from Grace, who watches the show. She lives in Belmont. Grace, I won't say where. Grace says this: what are 4 key tenets to your platform? 4 things that are important to you with your candidacy, your platform.
4 things.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. My number one thing is just my understanding of Charlottesville. So that's always going to be my number one. The fact that I come from here, I've seen a transition, I've kind of been a part of the transition. So just like everybody else, I've had to adjust. I've just seen it from a different level. So I've seen a lot of the changes that have taken place. So I'm going to be a little more aware of different neighborhoods and how things are occurring in different neighborhoods. So I won't be blind to most of it. Number 2 is my leadership. I think my leadership is different in a sense. And so I think that's going to be my second phase is I'm from here. My leadership speaks for itself. I've been in the public sector and the private sector for many years, 20 plus years, and have good success. I won't say great success because I don't know what great is, but I've had success doing it and have built good relationships. So through that leadership, my relationship building and just being able to motivate people to get things done, that's my second one. I'm going to be a little creative and I'll say economic development and growth. And most people say, well, you're trying to build. No, I'm trying to build our people to be ready for the opportunities that are coming our way, particularly on the low line and upper. And so everybody is going to be engaged. And we want to give opportunities where everybody can be a part of this. We can't leave people out. And that's one of the major things, but I'll fall back down there. And so that's my third thing, just how to get people on the bottom line to get to a point where they can see their own success. I think too often do we look at success and say, oh, it is success. Success is the individual's viewpoint of success. It's not what we think success is, you know what I'm saying? And we have to be very conscientious of what we're placing on people. So we're talking about affordable housing. Maybe people not ready to buy a house. Maybe people want to get to a point where they can pay their rent on time for 2 or 3 years and build their credit and get to a point where they have choices. So we want to help people develop choices and options as opposed to forcing stuff on them and say, well, you got to be here or you got to be here. No, let them grow in their own way, which will help other businesses be confident that I can employ these people and use the resources we have in Charlottesville from an economic and growth development standpoint, and that being invested in the people. You understand what I'm saying? And then my last one is inclusion. We need to be able to include all aspects of Charlottesville, because one of the things I feel like is we're letting too many things get out of Charlottesville, and we have everything we need in Charlottesville.
What do you mean?
In terms of resources, again, we're a service town. So we have some intelligent, smart, innovative people in Charlottesville. I just don't think we use them enough. I think we go and try to reinvent the wheel and say, well, this person is in California. We got people right here that can do everything we want to do. We didn't grow this way to this point without having some very smart people in the community. I think too often we pick one or two people and they represent. Everybody needs to be included. And we now need to allow our people, like I said, we need to get off of the popular support and start supporting those people we see on a day-to-day basis, our restaurants, whatever we got, because you got to understand we are a service town again, and so we're very customized in our approach. So we need to focus on that and look at our individuals and how we get those people to those things that we're going to benefit from in terms of our restaurants and our construction and be able to put them in place when the opportunity comes, we're ready. We're not trying to get ready. We're ready.
Vanessa Parkhill has a comment on taxes. Vanessa, I agree with this comment. She says the more we ask our government to do for us, the more taxes will go up. Those services aren't free. Funding for schools, grants for affordable housing, programs to promote business all require money unless you could find volunteers who are willing to give their time. Carl, your thoughts on taxes from Vanessa Parkhill?
I think taxes have been out of control because, I mean, and I'm going to simplify this without going into it because, again, we're talking about numbers. So we can throw taxes out. But here it is again. Until we see our whole budget line and what we're spending our money on, we can't be blind to the number and then say we're going to automatically tax. Now, either somebody know what that number is and not tell it, or we just doing government as usual and saying we need to tax. Like one of the things I just thought about in conversation I had with a person, one of the things that's happening is you have some people who have lived in the house since their parents bought the house, and maybe let's just throw the 80s out. And that house probably was worth $100,000 right there. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody buys some property next. Just like I said, the person that lived next to them, no longer here, the family, and somebody buys that property and puts a brand new house next door to them. So you now at a $400,000 house next to a $100,000 house. As opposed to taxing the individual houses, we're now taxing a group. So because you live by this person, your assessment going to go up. You're going to run people out of here doing that. That's
gentrification.
That's gentrification. We need to look at, and that's one of the things we need to look at how that works. How we just generally saying, well, we're going to let them do it first because you let them do it, and then we're going to make the person that pay. That should be an individual thing. You shouldn't be taxing that person. And that person should get taxed at what their house was worth when they purchased it, as opposed to what this person's house is when they purchased it and say, oh, we're going to raise you up. Now, if that person should have the option to say, if I do some different things to it and bring it up, you can get the assessment there. But you can't just go into a neighborhood and say, well, this house is going up. Like the 10th Street neighborhood, you shouldn't be just raising everybody's stuff up because those houses have been over there longer than most of the people who are in office are right now.
Yeah, but with the 10th Street neighborhood, those colorful houses along 10th Street, kind of across from the Red Hub Food Co.
Right.
You know, those really pretty, the newer ones?
Yeah.
That's causing all the taxes to go up.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you tax them, but those other houses, how are you taxing them just because they put they there?
And wait till we see the impact of what Dairy Market and Dairy Central is going to have to that neighborhood. Because we're going to have major employers in Dairy Central, and they're going to want to potentially walk to and from work. So these major employers who are getting paid bank, the employees, they're probably going to scoop up some of these houses around here.
Right. Well, again, if you allow it to happen, and again, it comes to that affordable housing, there's a lot of transition going on, people passing on. There's a lot going on that you have to look at. And so to sit here and say, I need numbers, bro. I need to see numbers. I've never, we can have general conversation and all of that. Until I get to the point where I win this, I'm there. And then I can start saying, this is where we're starting from. We need to see the numbers. Let's see what we're dealing with. Is it necessary? Is it not necessary? I'm not big on taxing. Not that way. Not just, because that's a general tax. You're punishing people. I mean, I went to.
How are we going to make up the deficit for the budget?
We got to see, again, we got to see the budget.
Numbers.
We don't even know the budget. What is the budget? How about this? What is the budget? That's the first question. So you get all these questions. How you going to make up the deficit for the budget? How you going to stop taxes and all of that? Here it is, the first question. What is the budget? Like, so it's easy for a person to ask me that, but the current board right now struggling with, we don't even have the whole budget. Like, when do we get the whole budget? So how do you even be able to do that? I mean, that's being honest, right? You can't go deposit money into a bank if you don't have a check.
Sure. Throw this to you. We're an hour in. I enjoyed the conversations with you. It flew by.
It did.
It's
It always
1:31.
does. It's already done.
My little guy is outside, and I'm excited to take him for a little lunch, and then I'm going to take him to the playground.
Yeah. We can do another one, but I'm just wanting to just touch base and let people know.
No, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Anyone, I will say this. You have, like I've said to you, red carpet here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Brian, Yaz, and Juan Diego.
Yeah.
Also very much welcome here as well. I'll throw this question to you. As we head to the June 8th Democratic primary, folks are going to be seeing a lot more of you.
Oh,
You're going to be shaking
every
hands.
week.
Right.
Well, I will say this. It's not how you. This is this pregame. This for me is, and I look at it again. You got to prepare yourself. In a way where it just goes click, 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 click. So I'm not in fourth quarter at all. I'm not even fourth.
You're in
this
warm-ups.
Well, yeah, I'm in pregame, and so my team is out doing layups, and I'm in the back with my team saying, what is our game plan? How are we going to approach playing against whoever we're playing against? And so that's just basically me getting with my team and formulating plans and strategies and those things, how we want to go about. And so again, you still got deadlines. I don't even know. Somebody might jump in today or tomorrow and say, well, I want to get into, because the deadline is not until the 25th. So,
Are you hearing they will?
I've never heard anything, but I'm a realist. So just like I thought, there's a deadline, the 25th. That doesn't say that there's somebody out here that may say,
That's
well,
the 25th of this month.
25th of this month,
Yeah.
which still gives them enough time. That wouldn't be hard to do.
And correct me if I'm wrong. That's to run as a Democrat. An independent has a longer window.
Yeah, the independent doesn't have any of that. So
Right.
he doesn't have to deal with this. The independent
Right.
can sit and wait until.
It's for Democrats or
wait till
Republicans.
the Democrats and Republicans, we have to do this. And so you don't know. And so I don't want to, preconceive like it's a done deal. I'm calculating this like I calculate everything. Like I haven't won anything. The work I'm going to put in is going to show throughout this whole thing. And I will lay out my plan in a way that everybody will be on board, and there will be you just got to do it, because I got my team is big. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of people that want to help, and I want them to help on a lot of different levels from a lot of different neighborhoods. But the very essence of what I'm trying to do is is display that we can work together, and we get people doing what they do. Let's stop getting people to doing what they don't do, because then you got to justify that. And when you get to justifying stuff, then that means you don't know.
Maurice Ford says, my man.
My God.
He's giving you some props right now. Margaret Matthews, hello. Miss Stinney, hello. Welcome to the broadcast.
Where's Miss Stinney?
Thank you for watching. Is it Letitia?
Okay. Hey.
Yeah. How are you? I love when she watches the show. She watches when you're on the program. Let me close the show with this. 60 seconds. Okay, give us your 60-second elevator pitch on why Charlottesville registered voters should elect Carl Brown to city council.
Again, first of all, it's your call. And so, again, I'm totally conscientious of that, the ultimate decision is going to be yours. But if you want experience, you want some understanding of this community, you want some real leadership that's not going to be out front, because I lead by example from behind. And so I'm allow people to do what they do and really dig into what people really do. But if you want accountability and you want inclusion and you want to see everybody eat, and what I mean by that, let's get everybody moving in the direction they can move in, not where we want them to move. And that just takes some work and talking to people. If that's what you want and you want true change, then I'm your guy. Now, if you want the typical politics, then you probably don't want to. I'm not your guy. I'm not a politician at all. I'm just a dude that has to go through a process to get to a point where I can do what I do for the sake of this whole. So this is not about me. I understand totally that this is not about me. This is so much bigger than me. But again, as I keep hearing from those people close to me, this is your time, though. And so when you get to your time, one or two things happen. Either you miss it or you make it. And so this is my time. And over the course of this whole campaign, I would hope that you will get a chance, and I'm open. And so you'll see what I do on display. And if you know somebody that knows me, kind of have a conversation about them or with them about, what I do, what I am, how I've done it. and we'll go from there. But I'll be putting out stuff gradually after. But again, I'm calculating how I do it, and I believe patience and process gonna win out, and that's my approach.
If we could cut that into a highlight clip for us, J-Dubs, that's a good way to finish the show. Curtis Tyree, Carl Brown's the GOAT. Tailkine Cooper, am I saying his first name correctly?
Tykeen Cooper.
Tykeen Cooper. I met Carl Brown several years ago when he shared what Be Real meant to him. I'll gladly donate to Carl Brown's campaign. Just tell me where.
Okay, thank you for that.
And we got it. We do got to go. Give me. You can come back anytime.
Yeah, I'll come back and do that,
But
but-
tell us where, how we can get
Okay.
involved, donate, all the above.
If you want to donate, you can send. I have my mailbox and my account set up. So, Friends of Carl Brown, P.O. Box 1765, Charlottesville, Virginia 22906. Please include your employer on it. So they're being very cautious of people sending money. So just include your employer, your address, the basics, but they want your employer. I accept all donations. Nothing is too small, nothing too large. But I'll be doing some fundraising as we go. But I mean, that's a good starting point. And so again,
And the website's up soon?
and the website is in. So when I leave here, I'm going to get with my webmaster and see
Okay.
how we're going to do that.
And
But
what's
you know,
the URL going to be? Do we know?
I don't know yet.
Okay,
But
okay, so
it,
that's
it may
soon.
be just Friends of Carl Brown. It may
Okay.
just be the same thing.
Okay.
But that's what we're discussing today. But again, I got to have that discussion because I'm letting people take lead on what they think the best way to do it. So I'm doing that after I see you. But yeah, right now, if you just want to send it, that's where we are. And we'll go from there. And I look forward to seeing the people out. And I'm approachable, so feel free.
Okay. Thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank
Carl
you
Brown.
for your day, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl Brown, guys. He will join us on the 6th of April in a debate featuring the Democrats, Yaz Washington, Brian Pinkston, Juan Diego Wade, and Carl Brown. It'll be aired on this network here. Kathy Galvin will moderate it. We will continue to feature the candidates on the network as we humanize them. That's what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to give you an hour with them so you get to know them. That's the whole concept.
Shout out to all the other candidates. Keep grinding.
There you go, Carl Brown. I'm Jerry Miller. This is the I Love Seville show, and thank you for joining us on a gorgeous and glorious day to be alive. At 3 o'clock today, we will have What's Barking Local, our show that features the animal community, and tomorrow we have a dynamic program lined up for you that I think you truly are going to enjoy. The whole concept of this network is to showcase the best of Charlottesville, Virginia, in an approachable fashion. Thank you for joining us on a Wednesday. Take care.